Today I've been in I've been in recording mode, back-to-back recordings, videos. So I actually decided this one I just wanted to be one of my on the fly, spontaneous kind of videos, podcasts. You know what I'm saying. It's a bit of both because if you don't know, I post these on YouTube, and also on my podcast. So I really want to talk about how good it gets to be, how I really truly believe that a lot of humanity is settling for mediocre relationships. We're not chasing our dreams. We're not, especially women, we don't really allow ourselves to like desire to want more for various reasons. And I really just want to spark something in you today about how much better it gets to be, how much more is available to you, to all of us. But we have to allow ourselves to want more, to desire more. Like, for example, I, if I wanted a wardrobe full of clothes that just make me feel amazing, that are like my style, that make me feel sexy, attractive, whatever, and I don't allow myself to desire that, chances are it's because I am actually scared of something. Like, if I had the wardrobe, maybe I'd be more seen, and maybe I have a fear of actually being seen. Maybe I'm really loyal to the part of me that stays small, and if that part of my identity shifts, it's like, whoa, who am I? I don't know that page. I don't know that version of myself. That's really scary. So, it could be things like that. You might desire, I don't know, more in the bedroom. Why aren't you asking for more? Why aren't you communicating for more? I've seen like recently in Facebook groups, women like, oh, my partner just wants to get himself off and then it's over and, it doesn't worry about my pleasure. Are you communicating? Are you saying, hey, I want more for myself here? I want you to take care of me too? They don't know if they don't know, and you can sit here and say, well, he should know. Can we stop thinking like that, please? Okay? If you aren't communicating it, you can't use that anymore. It's a cop out. Why should he just know? I'm sure he could say the same thing about you. Actually, the other day, my partner has just changed jobs, and I keep seeing the trucks to his company as I'm driving around town. And it's really cool because he hasn't worked very locally to where we've lived, and now he's like 6 minutes down the road. And he's like, "Oh, so was the truck, I don't even remember what he said, but was it this or this?" And I was like, "I don't know." Like I was walking. I was also voice messaging somebody, but I would just noticed it. And he's like, "Oh, how do you not notice that?" I'm like, because I didn't, because that's not something that I look at, that I what? Like, he was like, this is common sense to him, but it's not me. And I actually felt a little bit judged. I was like, guy, you kidding me? Fuck you. Like, what? I kind of gobsmacked by his reaction. I guess what I'm trying to emphasize is that to him it seemed logical. To him, yeah, why would you not notice that? To me, it's not something I notice. It's not something I think about. So just because it seems logical and makes sense to you doesn't mean it does for them. Like, we need to accept that we are all different. Your partner does not think the same way you do, has very different lived experiences, views the world in a completely different way to you. Maybe he was brought up being quite self-centered, or like he's not been very thoughtful throughout his whole life, thinking about other people. Like, that's a thing. Men, I think, tend to be a little bit more that way, and women are the opposite, where we think about everybody else. So we think that our male partners should be the same. However, sometimes women do it too much and it's kind of toxic and damaging, but that's not for today's episode. So yeah, it's kind of like, well, why should he think to do that? If you're not communicating it, he's probably like, yeah, sick, she's happy, I'm happy. I'm sure he's happy. Let's carry on or go to sleep or whatever it is. So ask, communicate. What do you want more of? And why aren't you asking for it? Is it at the core you're scared of rejection? You don't think you're worthy of it? You don't deserve it? Are you worried you'll be too much? Do you know yourself well enough to know that, like, what your core wounds are? I have a fear of being too much. It's a really big core wound for me. Don't be too wild, too crazy, too annoying, too different. Don't be the black sheep. Too late. So you need to get to know yourself, to know what your core wound, like what core wounds are driving your behaviors or lack thereof. Okay, so we need to start thinking, what do I want? What are my dreams? I might that might feel a little stretchy for you. Maybe you're like, oh, there's no way I can achieve my dreams. Well, with that attitude, you bloody well can't. Like I didn't wake up one day and suddenly have this business. I have built it from blood, sweat, and tears, okay? And it's still growing. It is still not where I want it to be. So it's taking consistency, effort. I have to be persistent. It has been a deep initiation for me personally, So it's like if your dream is business related, it's also personal related because your business just mirrors back your shit to you. Okay? I'm telling you from personal experience. Same as your relationship. It just mirrors shit back to you that you don't want to look at. And most of us try to spend our lives avoiding looking at it. Same with our desires, because if we looked at that and if we don't get it, then what? We're a failure. Or if we do get it, what might that mean? So often we're like, of course I want the positive thing, like the happiness, the joy, the excitement, whatever. But what we don't seem to understand is that I actually think most of us prefer feeling shitty. Because if and when life lifes and, pulls the rug out from underneath us randomly, the drop is very short. If we're already feeling pretty crappy, there's not much further to go. However, if we're feeling high vibey and we are feeling literally like when we feel joyful, we feel lighter. It's because we're vibrating at a high frequency. When life lifes and pulls the rug out from under us, we might drop straight down into fear, into shame, into guilt, which vibrate at a lower frequency, which literally make us feel more heavy, dense, and it doesn't feel great. And that drop is so much more jarring because it's such a polar shift from feeling high vibe to not so high vibe. So most of us think logically, yeah, of course I want to feel better than this. Of course I want to be a 10 out of 10. But we stay at like a 5 or a 6 out of 10, just in case. And we are creating our own suffering, unknowingly, probably. We aren't allowing ourselves to strive for more because of all the fears and the what ifs. So if you aren't willing to get to know yourself better, you're going to stay a 5 or 6 out of 10. But what if more was available? What if it got to be so much better? And that starts by you desiring more. You don't want to stay there. There's this saying, one foot in desire, one foot in gratitude. We don't want to keep outsourcing all the time. But if you can be like, hey, I'm really grateful for where I'm at right now. However, I would really love it to get even better. And this is what I would love more of. Man, you're going to be so magnetic, girl. You are going to be having all the things, achieving all the things. Look, to be fair, life isn't always, in my experience anyway, okay, maybe it is for others, but up until this point, it's not always that seamless and wonderful and pretty looking. But I guess what I'm trying to emphasize is that if you don't even allow yourself to desire anything more, you're probably not going to have much more. And some of your desires, you're just settling. Maybe you want better. Maybe you don't want the Kmart vac, but you want the Dyson. Maybe you don't want the Kmart wardrobe. You want the Prada or the Forever New or I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, where are you settling? Where are you settling in your relationship? And that's not me encouraging you to focus on all the things your partner is or isn't doing right or to your standards. It's like, how can I ask for more? More pleasure. How can I ask him to take care of me in the bedroom? How can I receive more from him? How can I ask for help? I mean, how? I'll tell you how. You ask. Do you know what I mean? Where are you not asking because you don't think you're good enough? You don't believe you deserve it. Maybe you got to earn rest. Maybe, I've really had to lean into like, actually, my partner can cook dinner, even though I feel fine. Whereas normally it's like, oh no, I need to be like sick or just like absolutely exhausted to be deserving of having a night off cooking. No, no, I desire for him to help me out in the household. I mean, with the cooking, he's amazing anyway. But these are just sort of my patterns and my shitty limiting beliefs as well, getting in the way. So, what do you really want? Maybe you can write them down. Down. Maybe you could sit down, pull out a piece of paper. You could create like a mind map or something and write like, maybe it's your desire map. And it's like, I'm just going to write all the things that I really desire. Does that mean that I expect to have them in the next week or the next year? Not necessarily. But like, can you just allow yourself to desire more? If you aren't clear on what you desire, then there's nothing to create. There's nothing to manifest, whatever. But like, don't be afraid to dream big. Maybe not all of them are entirely realistic, but also what if it was? Like, what if it was? How much better does it get to be? And then with these desires, you could ask yourself, okay, if I received this, if I had this, what am I afraid would actually happen? If I had more money, am I afraid that, I don't know, something will happen and I'll lose all the money? Again, if I'm feeling really awesome about money and, we're really financially well off or whatever, and something happens, that rug being pulled out from underneath me don't feel good. So I'll just stay in my little comfortable box, and then if something happens, whatever, it's expected. Of course it is. I used to have this belief that bad things came in threes, and it did because I believed it. you know? So what if great things came in threes? Hmm? So you write this desire map or whatever. You can just journal things you want, whatever. Get curious though. Get really honest with yourself. And then you ask, well, if I had this, what's the worst case scenario? What do you really want? And if I have it, what might happen? Because we are actually really afraid of having the goodness. Just trust me on that. If you weren't, you'd probably have it. Maybe you're listening to this and you're like, Paige, I am like a 9 out of 10 on good days. Amazing. Could it get better? Can you ask God, the universe, source, whatever word resonates with you, and say, hey, God, show me how much better it gets to be? How good can it get? Show me. I don't know about you, but that feels really good in my body. So that is my suggestion. If you are someone listening to this and you're like, actually, I've just given up on my dreams. I'm a mum now and I can't have them. And then Paige has come along and said, fuck that. You are a mum. So make it happen. Find a way. Maybe it's not right now. Can you start taking steps to making it happen in the future? Don't sit on it. Don't sleep on it. You want to know one of my driving factors for why I do what I do. It's not even about the relationship stuff, okay? I mean, it is, but at the core for me, my driving vision is freedom. And I don't necessarily just mean like financial freedom or whatever. It's like freedom from limiting beliefs, from conditioning, from our traumas. And with that, it's like, how can I still experience maybe a slightly different kind of freedom, even with children? I have 4 children, a very blended family. I would love to be living in Queensland. I don't. Okay. I live down in Melbourne, kind of rurally now, actually. And that was like my compromise. And it's not where I'd love to be, but life is still like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 sometimes. It's amazing. And my daughter is with me through 2, 3 days a week, my youngest, through the week. I still find a way because I'm important. I prioritize myself. I matter. And I'm like, hey, what am I role modeling to my children? You find a bloody way. Does that mean that I'm always a super present mom? Absolutely not. But am I present? Absolutely. And I guess I just want to kind of highlight that if you're like, yeah, well, I can't have it all and be it all, and my kids, being present and all the time, being present all the time is so important to me. And I'm like, I get that, but like, you fucking matter. And, maybe you think your kids fill you up and they make you feel 10 out of 10. I don't know if I've really met anyone who feels that way if they aren't still doing something that they love to do on the side. Like if they aren't following a passion or filling up their cup. So it means that you got to sacrifice some presence and some time with your children. And I'm like, what are you role modeling to your children if you aren't taking care of yourself? Not good things, okay? You need to show them I matter. You need to show them they can do hard things, even when the cards they've been dealt aren't ideal, are challenging. Yes, okay, you might be like, yeah, Paige, but you're so entitled and blah, blah, blah. Maybe in some ways, and I'm telling you, in many ways, I'm not that fucking entitled. I am not that special. So, how can you at least start planning for the future? If you do have the children and you're like, this is the dream, the grand vision, maybe you start smaller. Next year, my daughter's still at kinder, only my youngest at kinder for only 2 weeks, 2 days again. Same thing as this year. So I'm like, okay, for me to have like a business where I'm earning millions, maybe I don't even have capacity for that. So I'll start a little bit smaller until I have capacity for that. It's still filling my cup. It's still expanding at a rate that isn't super overwhelming, but it's still making me feel like I'm following my dreams. And this is one of my dreams, one of my desires. So what's yours? Stop hiding. What do you want? Life gets to be so much better. But it won't be if you keep hiding behind mediocre and settling, because it gets to be so much better. And that includes your relationship, okay? We are not settling for just good enough anymore. We deserve, like I said to James, my partner, last night, I was like, babe, I'm actually so in love with you. Like I just kept staring at him. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, I just love you so much. Like we are so lucky to have each other. Look at how far we've come. And I'm telling you now, we have had hiccups. We have had roadblocks. We have had mountains to freaking climb. And yet, I can stand before you with my hand on my heart and say, I've never been happier, more in love with that man. Our sex life, oh, it's pretty great now, can I just say? And I know it gets to be even better. Like it's just going to keep getting better. I mean, I'm not saying it's always going to keep getting better all the time in any area of life, really. There's going to be plateaus and it's not always going to be linear. Nothing ever is. I'm not ignorant to that. But also, it doesn't hurt to what's the word? Be a little uh not ignorant, but maybe ignorant. Naive. It doesn't hurt sometimes to be a little naive. We're always like, oh, we need to be very logical about life and reasonable. And I'm like, fuck that. No wonder you're all semi-happy. What about extra happy? Let's stop settling. So I really hope this episode has lit a little or a large fire up your tushy. And you are starting to go, you know what, Paige? Yeah, I freaking matter. My desires matter. And I'm gonna do a desire map and I'm gonna write out all the things that I desire. I'm gonna do it. And then I'm gonna let Paige know so that Paige can celebrate me. I am your number one hype woman, okay? I promise you I will be. Yeah, so that was such an abrupt end. That's it for today's episode. Please give it some love if you want to give it some love, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Otherwise, I will see you in the next episode. Ciao!